1. Hello, folks. We're back, and the first Friday of high school football action in Hampton Roads is in the books. I'm Matt Hatfield, the guy in the hat, and the guy in the red shirt with no hat is Ed Young. I wear a hat because my name's Hatfield. Get it? Hat for hat.
And with that hairdo, you need it.
Well, I haven't combed it today. We usually like to put gel. We'll bring out the Bro Cream next week. A little dab will do you. But we're going to talk some high school football the first Friday from last night, Ed, as we had some surprises. Our picks did not go too well.
Mine were horrible.
From the video show or the games in general. We had the picks contest on VirginiaPreps.com through MatthewHatfield.com. Play. It is free to play, and you can win big. The grand prize might be a trip to the Bahamas, all paid expense trip free, courtesy of Ed Young, because he's going to take you there.
Let me just have a disclaimer right now. That ain't happening.
That's not happening? Okay.
If I'm paying for anything in Bahamas, I'm going.
Oh, okay. Well, you can get a trip to the Bahamas with Ed Young. That's a grand prize.
Not with my prognostication abilities.
We'll tell you about the grand prize as we get closer to the end of the season. You got to beat us for the season. We also got some college football and NFL picks coming your way, too, to play. It'll be free, and it'll be a lot of fun. But, Ed, I think the big story from last night, where everybody's talking about the Oscar Smith game with Vero Beach and the American Heritage game from Florida taking on Bishop Sullivan at the Sportsplex. That's going to happen, and we're taping this before that game today, but a lot of people will watch this after that. The two games that really jump out at me, the big surprise that War Hill beat Heritage, who was so hot last year out of the gates.
Yes.
They did lose Amanya Watson to William & Mary, and they did lose Jeremiah Boyd to Navy. War Hill got a big win for Thad Wheeler, and I think year number 4 at the helm of the Lions. And then the margin of victory for Bayside over Cox had not scored 63 points in a game since 1992, back when you were young, dancing on the dance floor back in the days at Norview.
Back in my surfing days.
Yeah, and they do it with a lot of guys that transferred out, no longer there. A lot of young kids for John White, who told us on the radio show he's playing a bunch of 10th graders and 11th graders.
Well, every kid that scored was an underclassman.
Yeah.
And 4 of them were sophomores that scored.
A couple of players ejected, and we'll see what the status is as we get closer to Thursday's game with Lansing, which is big. But Ed, 63 points. They were down 17-7 in that game. Nobody saw that coming. Although you did on this video show last week when you said they'll win the Beach. You picked Trey Jones and Navy to commit.
I did that.
Then you changed your pick. Why did you change your pick? Did you have a brain freeze or something? What happened?
Well, you can't freeze what you don't have. I picked Bayside to win the Beach.
Yeah.
Then I picked them to lose the first game.
So you had to win 9 in a row is what you thought,
Win 9 in a row.
Oh, okay.
Cox was up 17-7. I thought I was good because Cox doesn't lose double-digit leads very much.
And the game was at Kellum. It wasn't a true Bayside home game.
Right.
It was neutral site.
So it was neutral site. It was a dumb pick going against Bayside when I picked them to win it all.
Yeah, and I thought you were crazy when you did that.
Well,
but you were on to something. You were on to something.
I was on to something, and I'm going to stay on it. And
he's definitely on something, folks.
Medication is good. I think that they got a game with Lansdowne coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I want to say, okay, Bayside will really prove us wrong because they'll beat Lansdowne. Lansdowne had a nice opening win against Green Run.
Uh-huh.
So that's a topsy-turvy game, and we understand that offensive line for Lansdowne is like average 285, 285 pounds, and they all move. Bayside doesn't have that kind of bulk on the line. Interesting dynamics there in contrast to style of play. I still like Bayside. But a team I also, in the summer, picked to win the Beach, Ocean Lakes. They dropped 61 yesterday?
62 on Kellum. Good point. And you know what's funny is I think we kept coming in that the Bayside Cox game will tell us a lot about the Beach moving forward. But really, I think we have more questions than answers after week 1 because Tallwood's better than we both thought. We both thought they'd lose to Princess Anne. They proved us wrong again, like you guys did last year, despite losing Breon Mosley, the running back, Adrian Wilson, the quarterback, and the D end, Cameron Washington, as well as Richard Ruffin, the D tackle, all graduating. Cam's now at ODU. But Antoine Kidd, a new running back, and John Keppel's starting to establish a program there that's on the come up. Tallwood's got some good athletes. They're showing better depth than they've had. It's a lunch pail mentality over there. They'll play good defense. They'll get up the line of scrimmage, and they're looking formidable along with Salem and Ocean Lake. So it seems like the Beach has got a little more depth and quality as well as quantity to it than we thought going in, and we're going to probably not figure things out until October-ish.
Yeah, you've got to get the top 4 or 5 teams playing each other because obviously somebody's going to lose. That's when you start seeing the dust settle a little bit. Speaking of Salem, they extended Kempsville's woeful losing streak last night also. Feel really bad for
I do too because I went to
kids.
Kempsville.
Yeah, that's your alma mater.
Not alma mater, but I went there.
Well, it's the curse that you put on that school. Maybe that's why they're losing. but they'll get a win somewhere. PA we both like because we think they're going to win more, maybe double their win total from last year. But like you said, we didn't give Tallwood Lions proper respect based on their good season of last year.
A few things to touch on. We got Lafayette getting ready to open its season. Lake Taylor and Western Branch will go head-to-head. That's a big matchup. Lafayette will take on Norcom, which got themselves a nice win over Hopewell. Norcom was ranked 9th in our 3A top 10 on Virginia Preps. Hopewell number 5, so the rankings will shuffle after this week. And I want to get your thoughts on the rankings here in just a moment with the state teams considering the local flavor with it, or the state rankings with the local flavor with it. Ed, as you look ahead to some of these games coming up, we'll see Phoebus and Hampton start to get going in real action. The game we're watching for, I think, Friday night is Lake Taylor Western Branch. A lot of premature demise being called for Lake Taylor, but Hank Slayer's Titans, we've been here before. You better get them now because they got a bunch of good underclassmen. And I think too many people reacting to that scrimmage result, which didn't count against Ocean Lakes. Ocean Lakes put on a good showing in the scrimmage, but that might have been more about Ocean Lakes being good and who Lake Taylor didn't have. They had 3 linemen out in the scrimmage, so I would not get alarmed by a scrimmage result. Lake Taylor will be plenty motivated to try to take down a Western Branch team that's getting a lot of buzz with Brequan Harrell, the quarterback, 2-sport athlete, and Jalen Alexander, the stud defensive tackle.
And they could lose possibly to Western Branch and run the table. So
well, their schedule's tough. Are you quite certain that they still have to play Freedom out of Woodbridge, which put up 70 points last night? They got to play Phoebus, and they got to play Norview, as well as a couple of Eastern District teams on the rise. Moore getting a good win over Bethel and Norcom.
yeah, I feel strongly with Lake Taylor in district play. Freedom game can make you nervous.
Phoebus game? They have whacked Phoebus the last 2 times they played.
Yeah, I think Phoebus, if you got to get Phoebus early this year, the first 3 or 4 games. They're going to get really, really good later. Some of those younger kids who were really sophomores last year, they got a lot of them juniors now. Once they put them in situations now where they have to be the leaders. Once they accomplish that, know they can do it. Phoebus is Phoebus. Just make it simple. As we always say about Hampton, Hampton is Hampton. But the thing about talking about Lake Taylor demise, I don't see it. 40-some games in the Eastern District play. It's going to continue.
Well, they've got a 3-year starting running back in Deion Smith, who I picked as my Eastern District player to watch, and he's only the second one in about 18 years for Hank Sawyer that's been that, a 3-year starter at running back. So I think they'll still run the ball at that Twin Veer. They'll be tough on defense, and they'll be relentless on defense. They're going to bring the kitchen sink at you, which is what Coach Sawyer's teams have been known for. Football and his wife's girls basketball teams for that, with that relentless, aggressive defense there on the b-ball court too. Phoebus, you mentioned that sophomore quarterback who's going to be a good one, and Chris Daniels might take him some time to get his feet wet, and they also have to replace 3 all-state defensive backs led by Jonathan Gregory, who's now at Norfolk State. They do have a really good safety in Damian Charity, as well as a transfer from Tab in Latrell Smith, who will be one of the better corners in the area too. So that's a big game for Phoebus coming up with Heritage. Heritage, we mentioned on the radio show, boy, now you're looking at, you don't want to start falling behind with, you got Hampton and Woodside still to play early on the schedule. Gloucester, who, by the way, gave Woodside a scare last night, as we expected. Isaiah Spencer put up 200-plus yards as the quarterback. Heritage is in a situation where, whether you want to call it must-win or not, they don't want to start piling up losses because now their playoff seeding starts to get lower and lower and lower, and they're definitely going to open up on the road than be at home in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm surprised Warrior knocked them down. I didn't see it happening. You know, you sometimes give teams percentage chances of winning. I pretty much 99-1 for Heritage over Warrior, but you got to play the games, and Warrior proved that. So Heritage, you don't put yourself in a situation where you start getting, well, we get must wins, and then the old we hope somebody beats somebody. So of course football is all based on those point system, which gets complicated more later than right now.
2 more things we'll touch on, Ed, before we say goodbye on this video show. Like I mentioned, the VirginiaPreps.com top 10s are done on the site for the preseason. The rankings are going to change now with some of these results. We had some local teams from the 757 prominently mentioned in Class 6. Oscar Smith was number 2. Cox was number 8 in the state. Colonial Forge was number 1 in the state. Centerville was 3. You had Westfield, South Lakes, Manchester, South County, Thomasdale, and Hilton in there. What do you think? Smith 2, Cox at 8. They're going to fall out pretty quickly here.
Because of the margin of defeat, yeah, I think they'll go down to 10 or past it, or out of the top 10.
Yeah. Smith, do you drop them, if at all?
No, if you drop them, the people ahead of them had to win big. If somebody didn't play at all, it's not fair to Oscar Smith because Alston played a very, very good team.
Centerville did have a shutout of their opponent, Stonewall Jackson, and Westfield got a big one over a Lake Braddock team that was knocking on that top 10 door. So, Class 5, we have two teams. Northview's number 8, Hampton's number 10. Potomac Falls was sandwiched in at number 9. They lost to Broad Run, but at the top you have Stonebridge 1, Highland Springs 2, Hermitage 3, Hermitage 1, and a close one that'll be flip-flopped. North Stafford 4, LC Bird 5, Tuscarora 6, Massaponic 7. Class 5 is very, very good. So good that Indian River and Salem couldn't even make the top 10.
That's surprising because those are two very good teams, very bona fide playoff teams later on.
Do you see them getting in, though, at some point?
Both of them are going to make an appearance at some point of the year, but some people got to lose. Okay. That's the whole thing about rankings. Once you're ranking, you keep winning. I always say how you drop a team. Now, somebody might say, well, they only won a close game against a not-so-good team. Well, but they won. That's the key. Now, we're talking margin of victories, too, in this. As long as you keep winning, you're pretty much guaranteed your spot.
Going over to Class 4, we have Salem at the top, two-time defending state champs. Dinwiddie's number 2. They hung 70 on Denby last night, led by Kevon Pope, the Ohio State commit. The local flavor now, Lafayette is 3, Lake Taylor is 4, Kings Fork is 7. In between, you have Dominion, which took a loss to Clark County in Class 2. Blacksburg, the defending 3A champ, they moved up to 4A, got a good win last night over an opponent. I think it was Giles they might have played, if I'm not mistaken. Anyhow, they won pretty handily. They're number 6. Monacan is 8. Louisa 9. Sharando 10. Do you agree with that right now? What would you change? Dominion lost, so they're going to fall.
Yeah, at the bottom of the ranked teams, you lose, you're going to fall out because you got reward some of those other teams. Maybe that weren't ranked, were close, got a win in their first game. You got to reward that. If you're up high and you lose to somebody really, really good, probably not going to drop because they were really good. Now, if it's good, you drop them, but you're not. If you're in the top 5, you're not going to lead the top 10.
We could have some changes with Lafayette getting ready to play Norcom. Lake Taylor about to host Western Branch, and Kings Fork's got Western Branch after they play Lake Taylor. So, Class 3, Phoebus is number 2. In front of him is Lord Botetourt. Behind him is Stanton River. That's the team that put up 53 points per game last year. I know you love that single wing with 3 1,000-yard rushers. Magna Vista, which won back-to-back state titles in 14 and 15, they're number 4. Hopewell lost at number 5 to Norcom, who's number 9. Heritage, Lynchburg, James Monroe, Brookville, and Abingdon also in there. Phoebus number 2 appropriate? They've lost the last 2 years in the state semis.
Right now, they were 0-0. I don't have a problem with them being there. Okay. Now, if they lose to Heritage, they're going to take a major tumble.
Is Norcom, they're going to move it from 9. How good is Norcom? Is Norcom now a team we can talk about being in the Final 8 or Final 4 of the state, or do you want to see more?
I really want to see more. Obviously, they won. I picked against them, so I would say they'd have to move up a spot or 2 in those rankings for sure. But let's let a few more games go to determine how strong they really are.
Keep an eye on Kassan Dixon, Jr. for them, offered by NC State already. Michigan State expressing interest. He's a wide receiver. DB had 2 explosive plays last night. He's electric as a wideout and DB for the Greyhounds, a name to know there in Portsmouth. Class 2, Appomattox has the longest win streak in the state, 30 straight victories. They're number 1. Goochland 2. Union Richlands. Poquoson comes in at number 5. Graham 6. Stewart's Draft 7. Clark County got the big one over Dominion. They're number 8. Glenver and Giles bringing up the rear of the top 10 in Class 2. But Poquoson's got a chance to really go deep this year, and it looks like they're mixing up the pass more than they had in the past with Elliott Duty.
They had that repertoire. They're going to be all right. They're going to be all right. Lafayette's going to have to lose a couple touchdowns before you even start knocking them down in the rankings. Everybody's just chasing them.
But they're in 4, so for playoff purposes, Poquoson's got to feel like they got a shot to do something.
Yeah,
going down to 2.
Poquoson had an opening win against, I think it was Southampton last night, so big things to expect from them. I said on the show last week, I could see Poquoson finishing behind Lafayette and the Bay Rivers.
And Smithfield.
Yeah,
so 3rd. I think we're both in agreement with that, although watch War Hill. They can maybe jump in there. And then Class 1, not a lot of local flavor, although we have one team in Sussex Central which shut out Essex last night 8-0. George Wythe is 1, Riverheads is 2, Galax 4, Perry McClure 5. Essex, you have Alta Vista, Hurley, Chilhowie, and Northumberland at number 10. Knocking on the door, you got teams like Narrows and Franklin and some others. But Sussex Central lost in the state championship last year, and they've got like 3 or 4 freshmen starting. So whether they get back to that point this year or not remains to be seen. The one thing is Curtis Jefferson's, the future there looks mighty strong.
Yeah, young team. I would say that they're a team that you're going to probably see keep moving up the ladder as the year goes.
All right, so that does it for the rankings. Now we look at, Ed, I'm going to put your feet to the fire before we close out here. We didn't see War Hill coming. We didn't see Bayside's margin coming. Give me the thing that we don't see coming here on a Saturday that we'll be talking about next Saturday on the mic, on the video show, on the message boards, just in general out and about. I'm going to give you some key games here. Bayside's got Lansdowne. You've got Green Run at Tallwood. You've got Ocean Lakes taking on First Colonial. Salem takes on Princess Anne, who's got some talent there. Eastern District of note, Norview, Indian River. I think that's probably a toss-up game. Would you not agree?
Yeah, it's at Indian River.
It's at Norview.
It's at Norview.
Maury Nansman's probably a toss-up game as well. So I don't think there's any decisive favorites. Norcom's at Lafayette. You have Lake Taylor Western Branch, which considers to be a closer game than last year. People probably leaning more towards Lake Taylor. Southeastern Deep Creek Grassfield, maybe a surprise there. You look at Oscar Smith is off. We'll see Kings Fork in a week after that as well. They're off too. Peninsula Heritage Phoebus, maybe some upset potential there. Gloucester takes on York. Maybe the Bay Rivers does it again 2 weeks in a row with Doug Pereira's team much improved with the Lytle twins, Cole and Adam there. Bethel takes on Kickintan. I think that's considered a pretty evenly matched game. Hampton faces Denby. Now, that would be a shocker if Hampton lost that game.
Denby's got a lot of young kids, and until they find themselves, they're going to be finding other teams in that end zone a lot. I'm just trying to think of what could step out on me and
we
say,
got a couple more, and I'll go through them for you again. Woodside, Highland Springs, you were kind of leaning towards that, and then also we'll throw out there Grafton, Churchland, Jamestown, Huguenot. Again, I don't think there's a big shocker feel of that. And Tabs taking on Hopewell. Smithfield taking on Dinwiddie. So Smithfield would turn some heads if they got that win with Willie Drew and the Packers there. You want me to go first with mine? I'm going to give you one. If I'm ready.
Go ahead. I'm going to play off you.
Don't be shocked if next week Deep Creek pulls the stunner over Grassfield. Andre Twine, new coach. Grassfield's schedule after the Deep Creek game. This is a game you say you can't lose because you have Colonial Forge, Oscar Smith, Kings Fork, Smith and Kings Fork on the road, and they open up October with Western Branch. This is early in the year, almost a must-win type of game when you got 3 top 10 teams in the state later on in the month of September. Deep Creek got nothing to lose, almost a house money approach. No real headline prospect, no real marquee name. I think they'll come in against a rival they haven't beaten here in quite some time, and they'll be amped up for it. And this could be a down-to-the-wire game and surprise some people.
I like that. I like that type of pick, and it's kind of like Deep Creek of old. I'm still trying to wrap my arms around what I want to see. Stephen, I want to take yours and say, yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that.
Well, you mentioned Woodside earlier in the show. What about Tallwood, Green Run? Could Green Run pull something there? And the beach has still got some uncertainty to it here as it's...
Maybe the beach is going to draw me in this year like the Bay Rivers used to in terms of those wild, high-scoring, last-minute games. But I don't think it's so much that with the beach. It's just there's a lot of logjam in there. There's a lot of good teams. And you got to start playing each other to break that logjam and see, who's number 1 and 2, who's the very top, and where the majority hangs in the middle. And, of course, right now, Kempsville is the team that's really, really struggling trying to find a win any way possible. But with the strong Beach District, maybe Kempsville should apply for status in another district just for this year to get that first win. That's going to be tough. That Woodside, Highland Springs, I know you told me earlier, there's no way Woodside's beating Highland Springs.
Well, I wouldn't go no way. I'd say it's very, very, very unlikely. I can't see Highland Springs starting 0-2, and I can't see this Woodside team beating them.
Yeah, but I'm going to stay. For me, I'm going to stay with that one. So if it happens, I could be able to say, I told you so. If it doesn't, I screwed up again. I should have went with your head instead of me thinking I know what I'm doing.
After he warned you Woodside, you might lose to Gloucester. But you took that warning seriously enough because Gloucester gave you a real tussle there. And Wilson, Lakeland game we haven't touched much on. Lakeland had a great year last year. How do they follow it up? They lost some key guys that transferred out. Similar to Bayside's case, so maybe you lose some guys. It can be addition by subtraction in a way.
Yeah,
they're taking on a Wilson team they'll be expected to beat, as Wilson had a tough time with Kings Fork in the opener. And longest playoff droughts. You mentioned Kempsville with their struggles though, and I think they're going to get turned around at some point. But First Colonial is actually the longest streak in the beach. They haven't made the playoffs since 2000.
Wow. And
with their key guy Davier Bradshaw out with the broken collarbone, it's going to be tough sledding against Ocean Lakes, who looked mighty strong in their opener.
Yeah, I'm not going against Ocean Lakes. Put up 60 on Kellum till they lose a game. I'm not going to go against Ocean Lakes.
So there you have it. Go see some games next week. You got some big ones with Bayside, Lansdowne, Maury, Nansman River, Norview, and Indian River, Lafayette, and Norcom. Oh, there's so many good ones.
And we say Lake Taylor Western Branch?
Lake Taylor Western Branch. That's probably the game of the week.
I would think that's the game of the week. If they were going to televise games of the week, That would be my vote for the TV show.
I concur with you, and Phoebus Heritage next Saturday, too. So that'll do it. Go to VirginiaPreps.com, play the picks contest, and we got college and pro picks coming your way, too.
It ain't hard to win to beat us.
High School Sports Talk Plus.
I've already lost 5 or 6, so you can beat me fairly easy.
You better get Ed Young before basketball season comes, because he's ready to make some noise this winter, folks. He's ready. He is amped. He is hungry. He's feisty.
All about making noise.
That's right. He makes a lot of noise, but we'll talk to you next time on the High School Sports Talk video show. Don't forget, ESPN 94.1 every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon, and call in at 757-687-9494. We'll make you an instant guest.
And don't forget, the #1 rated high school sports talk show on Saturday in the state. And I'm hearing now they're starting to push that into the Carolinas.
Ooh.
So we're starting to dominate.
There you
Starting to dominate. Get on board. You want to be a guest. When our stock goes up, you're going out.
Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk with you in September.